Hippocrates once said that the patient must combat the disease along with the physician. That was true over 2,000 years ago, and it's even truer today. Because in modern healthcare, the fight isn't about the treatment, it's about making sure your voice is actually heard before the decisions get made about your health care without you. Now, I have a special guest today. You can see her on screen here, Sarah. Sarah's going to introduce herself. She has been experiencing a rather unique life that you're going to hear about. She and I are neither medical professionals, but her experience is very, very unique for this, what we're going to be talking about today. Quick disclaimer, this is not about medical advice. This is about giving you practical communication tools that you can use to work with your healthcare team so you can ask the right questions and get the clarity that you deserve in your healthcare or your loved ones or somebody that you know. Now, in this video, we're going to hopefully give you quite a few tools that will make it easier for you to speak up for yourself and or somebody else in the healthcare settings without creating tension. There's enough there already, so that you can walk away from an appointment feeling much more confident that you got the care and the information and the answers that you deserve. Sarah, let's talk about you now. Now, Sarah, I want you to introduce yourself, and everybody pay attention because this is some really good information.
So hello, like Steve said, I'm Sarah Powlison, and I'm really excited to be sharing with you all about self-advocacy in the healthcare sphere. My experience in this area is really broad. I was born with a genetic condition called neurofibromatosis, and that's a genetic condition that it causes tumors to grow on the nerves. It can cause other problems too, but I had my very first surgery when I was 5 days old, and that was to remove many tumors that were growing out of my mouth. And since then, I've continued to deal with medical problems all the time. I'm very experienced in that area, and I've learned the hard way how to advocate for myself. And this has actually grown into me being an advocate for others. I have lobbied on Capitol Hill for medical research programs, and I'm even a participant in several medical studies to further good responses to my own genetic condition. I've acted as a consumer reviewer on the congressionally directed medical research program to be a voice for others living with the same condition that I am. I'm also a volunteer patient representative for a nonprofit organization, and in this role, I have opportunities to speak with and advocate with and confer with other stakeholders. So that'd be like doctors, pharmaceutical companies, medical researchers, other patients. And then I serve on a program within the NIH that evaluates responses and endpoints to neurofibromatosis. Finally, I am the director of the Shine a Light Walk, which is a fundraiser walk for patients and families who live with neurofibromatosis. And that's a day to raise money, to raise awareness, and to just bring support and kindness and love to people like myself living with this disorder. And so I really want you all to have confidence in communication. It's empowering to me, and I know it can be empowering to you as well. And for me, it's really given some purpose to the pain that I experience. And I hope that you guys can have the self-assuredness to speak up for yourself so that you can have the care that you really deserve. Like Steve said, I'm not a medical provider. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not giving you medical advice. Steve isn't. But I really want you to have the encouragement to communicate well in every space that you're in, including the medical space.
Wow, I got a feeling we're going to have a pretty powerful time today. So real quick too, I'll leave some links down in the description for the Shine a Light Walk information. And this, Sarah, let me know that this isn't just locally here. We're in Northeast Ohio near Cleveland. This goes throughout the country. Does it go throughout the world?
It doesn't go throughout the world. The walks don't go throughout the world, but other advocacy, other support and programming for my condition is. And there's, in addition to the Shine a Light Walk, there's the Cupid's Undie Run. So if you like to do something a little less sober in the middle of winter, then that's an option for you too, if you're an adult.
And we are filming this in August right now. So if you're watching this and it's already spring of 2026 or somewhere later, that's okay. It's out there. But I'll leave that information in the description. All right. So let's talk about what self-advocacy in healthcare is. But one of the first things is The problem with healthcare right now, and I've gone through this, Sarah's gone through this, everybody that's ever been to a doctor probably has gone through this. If you haven't, leave a comment below that you haven't, and we'll call you out on that one and we'll say why. Maybe just you're super patient. But one of the problems that I've noticed is the visits are very quick. If you get 6 minutes with a doctor, wow. If you get 10 minutes, wow. Now I'm talking generalized. Sarah has gone beyond that. She's like Super Bowl league. I'm just like the little minor league from what I've done. So she has a different experience on that, but she still has to go through the same system with doctors, nurses, specialists, all kinds of different people. We're going to hear about that today quite a bit too. One of the things is, how do you deal with this stuff? That's the big thing. The good news is that there are steps to protect yourself, and that's what we're here today to answer. And one of the first things we want to talk about is miscommunication. Now, we're not talking about the miscommunication between doctors and nurses. We're talking about between us, the people, and the healthcare professionals. So, Sarah, what are some of the things in miscommunication that could lead to delays, misdiagnosis, or even the wrong treatment plans?
Yeah, so there are lots of different problems that can go wrong, right? One could fail to fully communicate what's going on. They could be feel embarrassment about something and so not be very frank with their doctor. Their doctor could just not have been listening and write down the wrong thing. They could write down, for example, you're hyperthyroid instead of hypothyroid. And those are big differences.
That's pretty bad. Yeah, that would be bad. And people are human. I mean, doctors make
Yes.
mistakes too, unfortunately.
Yes.
But here's the thing. As the self-advocacy goes, we need to ask the question. So do you mean that this is that and that? What does that mean? You always
Right.
want to expand on that. And again, the more serious the problem is, the more it is. And I think one of the things is you don't want to just go into an appointment as a blank slate and go, well, let's see what happens. Yeah,
Right.
we'll call that the annual physical, maybe. But
Yeah.
if it's something more important, that maybe you had your first appointment and they say, you need to come back for a follow-up and be prepared, bring somebody with you.
Yes.
That's kind
Right.
of a cue that something's up,
Do
right?
your homework.
Yeah, do your homework. One
Yeah.
of the things I tried researching actually how many miscommunication problems there are between the patient and the doctor, and there's really nothing I could find. I'm sure it's out there, but it's probably very buried. What I did find is that there are thousands of preventable deaths each year just in the US from miscommunication between the patient and the doctor. In other words, somebody goes in and they say, this is hurting here. And the doctor just kind of goes down that path.
Hmm.
Well, it's hard to come back from that once you've already
Right.
started new treatment because then you have more and more problems with that. So that's one of the other big things. Sarah told me a really unique analogy that I'm going to let her say it because I'll butcher it, but it's basically mine is doctors are the experts in medicine, but you're the expert on your own body. And Sarah's
Right.
analogy is a little bit better. Check this out.
So I really like to go into any medical appointment treating it like a business meeting. I am I am the expert in my body and I'm hopefully hiring the expert in whatever problems arising. It's the same thing as when I have an issue in my home and I hire an electrician. I want to hire the best electrician and I expect that we're going to have a conversation about what is the problem? What do I perceive to be the problem? What are they identifying as the actual problem? And then what are the options to fix it? What's in my budget to fix it? What am I willing to do? How important is it to me to fix this issue and what are all the risks that could happen if we just do this little brief repair or do we need to replace the whole thing, right? The same thing when I go to that medical appointment. I expect that my doctor is going to respect me as an equal. I don't have the expertise they do, but we're partners. We're in this together.
Partners, that's a really good way to look at it. Most people, they have to go to the doctor or the
Right.
dentist or the eye doctor. But you are partners. My eye
Yes.
doctor and I, we are partners. He knows
Yes.
I'm looking for perfection, laser sharp vision.
Yes.
And he knows that. We've been working together for, oh, wow, 20, 25, 30 years, a long time. So he knows what to expect. I went to somebody new a couple years ago. It was a horrible experience. They
Yeah.
just treated me like cattle, quite
Yeah.
frankly. And it was not a good experience. Get the wrong glasses, nothing got fixed, and it just cost money and time.
Right.
So there was no apologies. It
Yeah.
just, oh, well, and somebody was, oh, yeah, they were on their cell phone the whole time too. Not real cool.
No.
So
So
let's talk about,
yeah.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, when you're in a specialist office, they're probably going to be a little more focused,
They're a little more focused.
a little bit
But
more. I would think they have less demand on their time. They may see six patients a day instead of 600 or something.
potentially, I'm not sure
Yeah,
about that, but
potentially. Yeah, yeah, you would know.
yeah.
All right, so
Similar to your Hippocrates quote, one that I heard, and I don't believe that it has an attribution. I believe that it is an unknown quoter. But if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
it sounds familiar.
It's very similar to your Hippocrates quote,
Yeah.
but I think it's a great one for this space because you hopefully your doctor wants you to go far, right?
Yeah, yeah, because then they could keep billing you for more and more and more. I know that's bad, but quite frankly, there's worse things that can happen than not continuing medical bills. All
Right.
right, let's move forward off
Yeah.
that one. So, what does successful self-advocacy look like? There's six items that I came up with. So, let's talk about these briefly. Number one is you ask clarifying questions without hesitation. Now, what does that sound like? One of the ones that I have, and then sure I'll come up with one or two for us. When the doctor says, that we're going to follow up in 2 weeks, you should ask back immediately. When you say follow up in 2 weeks, does that mean you schedule another appointment for me, or should I do it myself, or do I wait for a call, or can
Yeah.
you explain that further?
Right. Or will I actually be able to get into your office in 2 weeks? Is it all
That's
right if I follow up with your PA or the nurse practitioner? Can we do a my chart conversation? Should I follow up with you before then if I still am experiencing symptoms?
oh, and what if you're not experienced? What if the symptoms go away? What
Right.
if they all of a sudden they just kind of subtly just dissipate
Yeah.
for a little bit? Then do you not go or do you follow up?
Right.
And I'm just going to say, out of my experience, that depends on you, your condition, and the doctor. Again, this is not
Right.
about medical advice. We want to be careful,
Correct.
but just I've been around the sun enough to have
Yes.
basic issues. Sarah's again, she's got the unique, much further distancing than I have in this issue. All right, so you voice your symptoms and concerns clearly, even if they seem minor. This is doing it
Right.
right. So I go in and say, yeah, my shoulder hurts. Okay, where? In the front, the side, the back, here,
Yes.
in your neck, under your armpit. Shoulders, actually, it's a small thing, but it's a big thing.
Yes.
What can your arm do? Well, the good
Complicated.
doctor is going to say, all right, reach out, push, pull, twist,
Right.
turn. They're going to do all kinds of things.
Right.
I've been there. So I know these things. Now, I know this might not sound serious, but the tingling in my hand, it happens every morning. Well, the doctor's going to be like, turn around, let me examine your neck. And you're going to be like, what? It's my shoulder. They go,
Yeah.
trust me.
Nerves.
Yeah, it's probably C5, C6.
Yeah.
I know. So how now, again, if you don't know your body, let's say
Right.
you're first in and it's the first time you're encountering something, how
Yes.
do you describe your body to somebody if you've never done it before?
Right. They're usually going to ask questions like what does the pain feel like? When did the pain start?
Mm.
Try to anticipate those questions that you can answer. The pain feels crushing or the pain feels tingling. It feels like I've, put my hand in a electrical outlet.
And if you've never done that, don't try it just
But
until
yeah, don't try that. To know what it feels like.
it's not a good sensation when your feet are kicking it
No,
too.
but those are important questions they're asking. They're not just
Hmm.
asking them because it's interesting to them. And it can really be hard. It can really be hard to draw a path around your pain.
Yeah,
Getting the best description to your doctor.
adjectives work really good for this.
Yes.
Sharp, stabbing, intense, prolonged,
And what
ungodly
have you
painful.
done? What have you done to ameliorate it? Have you
If
taken
anything,
Tylenol? If anything, right?
yeah,
Have you
yeah.
have you applied heat? Have you applied ice?
Hmm.
What are the things that you've tried so they can know what maybe know that you've first tried something and then
Hmm.
what can we eliminate, what by process of elimination, what's the differential diagnosis. Being able to give the doctor the benefit of the doubt that they do want to help you, that they are in this profession because they want to help you. um Having that state of mind, that perspective does help, because you don't want to go in there combative or the bad attitude. It's just assume benevolence of your doctor.
Yeah, and that makes me think too that you want to ask about the alternatives
Yes.
instead of accepting the first suggestion. A lot of people are going to
Right.
be like, I totally trust the doctor, whatever they say I'm going to do. Well, we need to operate and do this, this, and this. And you shouldn't just say yes right away, right?
Right.
Maybe you want to say, are there any non-surgical options we could try first? That's
Right.
my first thing.
Yes.
When I had an issue, I do not want my throat cut and then the cadaver thing put my neck. Like, no, I can't
Right.
even talk about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
what can we do? And then they gave me that. Let's go with that first. And
Right.
they go, but if that doesn't work, then I said, I'm not going there. Let's make this work.
Right.
Again, I'm
Perhaps you do,
strong-willed.
yeah. Perhaps you do want the lifestyle changes. Or perhaps you've tried all the lifestyle changes. You have
Yeah.
made all the right decisions. You have, exercised, you've
Changed your
practiced
diet.
gratitude,
Yeah.
you have eaten the right foods, and you still feel cruddy, you still hurt. And in that same token of, yes, try the non-surgical route, try the non-medication route. I'm all for that. But sometimes you have exhausted everything, and you need your doctor to hear that you have exhausted everything. And
Yeah.
now we need to move on to what are the other options out there for me.
And speaking of other options are, do you ask for another opinion? So how do you
Yeah,
say that? How do you communicate that to a doctor? Because you
yeah,
think, well, I don't want to insult them. Well,
yeah.
that's their profession.
It is,
They've
yeah.
probably heard it all before, I would
Yes.
imagine, depending on their age. But you might say, I appreciate your input, but I would like another opinion or
Yes.
perspective before I decide what to do.
Yeah, I think that's definitely valid, and a good physician will want that backup. Will want you to hear it from somebody else. And maybe the next doctor has a different opinion and you need to go get a third opinion so that you can figure out what's a common
And then get
denominator
really
in.
confused. Yeah.
Really confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also it's completely valid if you are not comfortable, if you do not feel safe, if you do not feel confident with a medical provider, go find a new one. And I recognize that I'm speaking from a space of privilege here, that I have the ability to go find a different doctor for the most part. And for the most part, I'm very pleased with my medical providers. And when I'm not 100% pleased, I've chosen to accept mediocre, and that's on me. Again, I
Yeah. And
recognize I'm privileged to be able to do that. But if you have the ability, find someone you are comfortable with,
yeah.
because then you are going to be able to be open and honest and feel safe. You deserve to feel safe always
Absolutely.
in
And
your
if you're
medical
not feeling
provider's
safe, maybe
office.
you want to bring somebody with you.
Yes.
So you bring in a family member, a
Yeah.
spouse, just somebody that can, literally hold your hand or drag your hand in through the door because you're afraid to go in. Because a lot of people
Right.
are afraid to go.
Some people
You
are afraid to
mentioned,
go, and that's understandable. It can
yeah.
be really scary.
Yeah. And speaking of scary, one of the things I talked about in the video that I'll leave linked into about this was when you take somebody else in, let's say you go in and it's stressful,
Yeah.
you got a pretty serious life altering issue that whatever it is, I'm going to say the C word, cancer,
Yeah.
and it's bad, and you know it. Maybe you can see it. Maybe you've been tested for it. It's 100% for sure something drastic needs to happen, and it's not something that you're willing to accept because it's called denial, right? And this is a
Right.
basic human thing. Oh, not me. Well, what do you do? So you bring in somebody else because your brain's probably not going to be tuned into what the
Yeah.
doctor's saying. You're probably thinking, the cancer word and maybe not hearing what they're actually saying. So that's somebody that can help with the notes. Is that something
Right.
that's fairly advisable?
Yeah, definitely. I think bringing someone in, especially when you're getting to know a medical provider for the for the first few times, maybe perhaps once you know them pretty well and you're comfortable, it's not as necessary. But at least at the very beginning, the person can help remind you what to ask. They can back you up. If you're someone who lives with a condition, the way that you present might not present like someone who's living in a lot of pain. And so a doctor might just not really trust that you actually hurt because you don't act like you're in pain. And so they're not going to take it as seriously. But if your loved one comes in and says, "No, doc, they don't believe what you see because, you know, they're never sitting down because it hurts too much. I see that they're always standing up. I see
Hmm.
that I know her, I know him, and I know that this is pain, even though they don't look like it." that person is just another voice, or they're able to maybe ask a question that you're not thinking of, or that you just goes completely out of your brain because you're a deer in the headlights when you get in that situation, or you're even feeling intimidated because here's the doctor, and who are you without, without the medical degree. So
Yeah.
that person, especially if they're a little bit more of a confident person than you, or more outgoing, or they're more used to having, these communications, and they don't have the same physicality isn't on the line, right? Like, they love you and they care about you, but they're not the one who's going to be, taking the medication or going under the knife. And so they're at least a degree removed.
Yeah, that's
Unfortunately.
interesting. I mean, there's probably some issues with that. There's maybe a paper they have to sign for disclosure. Who knows? But one of the other things that you have to do is you have to understand your patient rights and you
Yes.
have to know how to use them. Now, I'm not talking necessarily about legal rights, or am I though, Sarah? What do you think? So I might say, I'd like a copy of my medical records for my
Yeah.
files. I've been through enough visits where I was just given a printout and say, here, follow this exercise routine. So I got used to the fact, hey, can I have a printout of what we talked about today?
Right.
Or can you email it to me? And now those are simple things, sprain, a boo-boo, you
Yeah.
know, but is it legal to be given your own medical records?
For sure. For sure it is. Yes.
And we could
And
always say consult a doctor, consult a lawyer on that, but
right. Right.
they're your records. Why
They are
shouldn't
your
you be able
records.
to have them?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
especially if you're
And
traveling too.
right. And things have changed a lot with electronic medical records. So, with that out, if you stay in the same hospital system and you're on this and you're in their electronic medical records, for me, it's my chart. I don't know what it is for you, but that's what it is for a lot of people. A lot of health systems use that. You're able to get a lot of it and share a lot of it. But even that, it can't, there's still layers of complexity when you want to share your medical record with another doctor, or even maybe your insurance has a second opinion, right? Like, I think some insurance companies will offer that second opinion where you can put in all of your medical record for a certain problem, and they will have someone assess it and tell you their second opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, I can only imagine it gets way deep
Very
with
deep.
bureaucracy.
Yes.
All right, bureaucracy. That reminds me, common barriers that we face and how do we overcome them? So let's talk about barrier number one, feeling intimidated by medical professionals. You said it before. People go to the dentist and they get intimidated. It's probably not the
Yeah.
dentist, it's probably the pain they think about.
Yeah.
But you're
Or the
going into,
sound or the feeling or an
yeah, or the
experience you had
smell. I
previously.
remember as a kid,
Yes.
I would smell the isopropyl alcohol smell,
Yes.
and it would set off all these memories, probably into my
Right.
30s.
Oh, yeah.
It's just there, even though
Yeah.
it's not consciously there. It's all those memories come back. So, I know our senses, our smell sense communicates
Yeah.
really good with our memory.
And everybody,
Um,
right? Everybody has some kind of fear that feels unreasonable, right? Like, I am definitely afraid of ants. And I do
hmm.
not like I don't even want, like, even hearing the word just makes me very uncomfortable.
Makes your skin crawl.
It
Yeah,
does. It makes me very uncomfortable. I don't like
yeah.
thinking about it. We call in
You'll
my
get
house, we call
itchy.
them those we don't speak of. There's a those who don't speak of in the house. My husband knows to go get the spray and then take care of the problem. But it might seem unreasonable when it's not you. And you can be strong
Yeah.
and you can be tough and you can still have a fear that it's hard to overcome.
So speaking of fear and overcoming, one of the biggest problems in communication is speaking up, right?
Yes.
So when I think about being intimidated by a medical professional, one of the things that I talk about too is what do you do before the appointment when you know you're afraid to talk about something? Maybe it's in a sensitive, private part of
Yeah.
your area and you don't want to talk about it because maybe you're going to the opposite sex doctor and
Right.
you're just not that kind of person, or
Yeah.
same sex, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
But write it down, right? Write
Yes.
down the symptoms the best you can. Now, one of the things that I recommended, and Sarah, you can back me on this, is what are your symptoms? Now, I have a headache, I have a sore throat, I'm having trouble sleeping, I'm nervous, but I'm thirsty all the time.
Yeah.
It hurts when I sit. It's my neck. But how do you describe that if you don't know how to describe your body? One is practice,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Or point. My neck hurts. Where? Like here.
Yes. Yeah.
There was a Tom Hanks movie. My head hurts. The doctor goes, where? He goes, here.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to describe that. And
Yes.
it's easy for me to say, but don't be afraid.
Yeah.
right? But write it down on paper and just give the doctor a paper. Now, I did have somebody write a comment that they actually handed the doctor paper and the
Yes.
doctor refused to look at it and
Oh, wow.
acknowledge it. That's a tricky one. I don't even know if we
It
want to
is.
get into how to deal with that other than change doctors.
Change
Um,
doctors. Yeah.
yeah,
I guess I would say, okay, if you don't want it, I want to make sure I'm going to read off of it. Unless I want to make sure that we cover everything that I came in here to cover because I know your time is busy and my time is valuable to me too. And these are the really important things. Because I
yeah,
do have friends that they will write down, kind of going on that business meeting line of thought. They write down all the things that are important. They write down the things that they are not willing to do, the things that they kind of prioritize. So somebody might prioritize their cognition. And they might say, you know, doc, I am not willing to take any medication that is going to impact my cognition. I would rather be in pain than have my mental capacity be harmed by this.
yeah. Pain
And
pills.
right.
Yeah,
And so
it's
that's the line that they're not willing to cross.
yeah.
And knowing the lines that you're not willing to cross when you speak to a doctor can really help both your provider and you make the decisions that are right for you.
Yeah, and that makes me think of the next barrier actually is assuming that doctors know everything and they shouldn't be
Right.
questioned. And
Right.
that's to me, I see that diploma on the wall. That tells me they're the expert. They know everything.
Right.
But do they?
Yeah, and medical care is a lot more siloed now. And by siloed, I mean doctors are specializing. And so you
Mm,
might even go to a neurologist, but your neurologist might specialize in headaches and not your rare condition. And
mm.
the headache neurologist might know very little about your condition. It's you should be. If you have a condition, you should be educating yourself. And I'm not talking about going to Google or WebMD.
Please don't use WebMD.
Please
Oh,
don't use those. You need to be going to good sites. You need to be going to like the patient organization websites that are vetted. You can go to NORD. You can go to the
Nord. What is that?
National Organization for Rare Disease.
Okay, just we want to make sure those acronyms get
Yes.
out.
Yeah, I'll make
Sarah
sure
and I had a
I'll,
conversation a while ago. She hit me with so many acronyms, I couldn't even ask what that meant. I was just like,
I believe it's National Organization for Rare Disease,
that's okay.
but or the
I'll,
NIH, the National Institutes for Health, right? You want to be going to those big organizations that they really are the experts. You go to advocacy groups, but the bigger ones. You want to make sure that your information is right and you want to be educated because not every doctor, like if you go to your primary care physician, your PCP, they not definitely, they very likely are not an expert in all of these other specialties, right? Because they are generalists. And so maybe they don't even know. Maybe you're in an area where you don't have access to specialized care. And so your primary care physician and that broad generalist neurologist or just a more generalist doctor, maybe they're taking care of you and they don't know the special things, the special tests that you need to do. Like maybe you're a woman with a condition and you're more likely to have breast cancer. And so for you, it's recommended that you start breast cancer screening at 30 instead of 40. Your doctor might not know that that's a thing, and you might have to advocate for yourself and say, you know what? I read that I need to start this at 30. And then you show them the materials. You say, see, look, this is what's recommended, and this is the standard of care that's recommended for me. And so this is why I need you to order it, and this is why the insurance needs to approve it. So please make this happen.
yeah, and I can imagine scenarios where you're limited with maybe one hospital and
Right,
and I'm just talking US. I'm not going to
right,
talk outside the country, but
right.
if you
Well,
have maybe half a dozen doctors in your area, you probably want to hear that I know the solution or
yes,
let me look this up and I'll get back to you. But this leads me into barrier three too, is do you need to know the right words to convey it to the doctor? In other words, do you need the Latin words, the big $20 words to say
right.
you know, I can't even think of anything. My hippocampus isn't working right
My
or
uvula
something.
is hurting, right?
Yeah,
No,
my
I don't.
uvula.
Yeah,
It's a inside joke we have with her
yes,
son. Yeah, but you do want to mirror the conversation back.
right,
Say something like, "So you're saying I should stop this medication before starting the new one? Did I get that right?" Because
right.
maybe they give you the long,
Yes,
expensive version of we need to. Again,
yes.
it's I'm at a loss for words in this thing, but it's just they hit you with something, and you're thinking, "What should I say
What?
back? What
Right.
smart thing should I
Yeah, yeah,
be?"
mirroring and responding back and say, so this is what I heard you say to me. Let me make sure I'm understanding it correctly. This is what I heard you say. We're going to do this, and then I'm going to check for this, and we're going to see if this happens, and then we're going to do this. Because that allows the doctor to stop you and say, oh, no, I think that was miscommunicated. Let's try again. Or you can ask the doctor, what did you hear me say? And then the doctor can say what they think they heard you say. And you can say, no, I'm sorry. Let me correct you because that's not a fact. Or no, I'm not. Yeah, that's not the facts.
Yeah, so just dig. And you
Yeah.
don't need to get out the medical dictionary because, first of all, and I've had students that tried to use really big words, and some were very effective, and others were, what do you mean?
Right.
Because I don't even know. You hear it from PhDs all the time, not just medical docs, but the PhDs in the academic
Yes.
world. They love to talk hoity-toity talk.
Right.
And those of us that are in it kind of can follow it, but sometimes it's like, can you dumb that down for the rest of us that only have maybe two master's degrees?
Right. Right. And for
So,
me, like I don't need my doctor to try to speak to me like I have, a neurosurgeon's degree because I don't, or neurosurgeon's training, or that I have taken all the, the medical terminology and Latin in the world because I haven't. But I don't want a doctor speaking to me like I'm five,
mm,
right? I want a doctor to speak to me respectfully,
yeah.
and I want a doctor to assume that I'm reasonably intelligent and I'm going to speak the same way to them. I'm not going to speak to them rudely or like they're children, but I do expect them to use grown up
Yeah.
words with me.
Yeah. Think of the business meeting. And
Right.
this also makes me think of the next problem is do you feel rushed during appointments? And that's another
Right.
barrier. Some people, they get it, you wait a half hour to an hour in the waiting room. You get really antsy. You watch everybody else go before you. New
Yeah.
people come in and they go before you. You go up to the desk three times. When's my appointment? They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. You go
Yes.
back in the room. The nurse is really friendly, takes your blood pressure and all that fun stuff. And you sit there and stare at the door for another hour.
Yeah.
And now the doctor comes in and you're just freaked out because why
Yeah.
did it take so long? Oh my gosh, now I'm gonna get so you have that anxiousness.
Yes.
So how do you
Everything you
deal with
had planned
that?
to say in your head is just gone. You had it rehearsed, you had it ready, and now you're just
Mhm.
angry.
And maybe they had a drawer open and you're seeing all those medical devices and you're like, why are those out? Is that for me?
Yeah.
Been in a room like that and I was just
Okay.
thinking, I know that's not the area that I'm having issues with.
Right.
Those look like that. And sometimes it's just you get to read all the stuff on the walls, but
Yep.
the doctor comes in and they look rushed. What do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you deal with that? You maybe
How
have
do you
been
deal
waiting
with
for two
that?
hours. Yeah. And they walk into the room. They're like, okay, so what's going on? And they're looking at their watch or their cell phone or the clock on the
Yeah.
wall. What do you
I
do?
think you take a pause and you slow down and you look them in the eyes. You just try to capture their attention and you ask, hey, can I follow up with this on my chart? Can I send you a message? When should I expect to hear back from you on this problem? And I think having compassion helps too, right? Like maybe your doctor did, have to spend 30 minutes with the patient before you because they got really bad news. Maybe your doctor is having a bad day, and it not
Wait, doctors have bad days? Don't they have
sometimes
doctors for that?
they do.
They
Yeah,
do. They do. I know they do.
right. But I think this is just a good general rule of thumb in general with humanity.
A little
Try to
more
assume the best
empathy,
about people.
basically. And that's one of the core things of
Yeah,
communication, too. If we don't, now we're not talking about, when we talk about empathy, it's understanding how what the other people are feeling.
right.
We're not saying being wimpy or not being just
No.
a doormat where people just walk all over you, but understand that people are people and they have issues.
Yeah,
So the doctor might have got a call from one of their kids. Maybe their kid just went to the emergency room and
right.
they're the only doctor on duty and they can't leave. Wow,
Yes.
that's kind of scary. I'm sure that's never happened.
Right. And
Um,
I think we've all probably, I don't know about you, but I know sometimes people assume that I'm standoffish or that I'm impolite
are you
or
being difficult? Are
that I'm
you
being
going into our next
difficult.
barrier?
Right. Yeah, a little bit. Because I can be a pretty serious person and I'm not always light and fluffy.
But you should be, right?
Right. I should
Not
smile
rude,
more.
but not difficult. But yeah, I mean, it's there's moments. I mean, I'm sure you've gone in with some. And now let's not get. I know some of Sarah's background. I'm not
Yeah.
going to give it to you, Nora. And she's had some stories for me that if I were to encounter that with a doctor, I'd have been labeled a difficult patient.
Yeah.
I would have gone in with a different attitude, depending on the
Yeah.
doctor. So, but, well, we're not going to get into that personal
Yeah.
stuff. We'll just keep that for between us. So if you want it, and by the way, if you had an issue with that and you want to share it, you're free to put that in a comment. Just kind of remember it's an open format
Yeah.
on YouTube. So be a little thoughtful. You
Yes.
don't have to be extremely detailed in things, but the fear of being labeled difficult can be a
Yeah.
challenge. When I go to my eye doctor, I'm not difficult. But if I go to the other doctor, like I tried, I was difficult because I said,
Yeah.
I need to see more clearer. And the answer was, well, this should be good. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, it should be. I, the customer's always right isn't always
Right.
true. But when it comes to these things, I need sharp, right? So,
Right. Because it impacts so much.
yeah, it does.
Right.
It's because without it, I'm
Yeah.
like, where am I? So,
And it's not only being labeled difficult, but it's being labeled a complainer, right?
wait,
Like
when you
that.
go to the doctor, aren't you already complaining though?
Right. But here she is back again complaining about something else.
Yeah, or it's the same thing over and over again.
Right. Yeah.
I would love, I got to get a doctor on. I got to ask a doctor, did you ever think that about a patient that they're always complaining about the same thing over and over and over again?
Right.
Did you give them two pills and say, call me in the morning? The old adage.
Right.
All right, let's break out of the barriers here. Let's talk about 5 practical tips to advocate for yourself. So
Okay.
this is the action stuff. So how do you prepare before your appointment? We talked about that a little bit. We talked about writing down symptoms, any medications, any questions you have. Is there anything else you should do to prepare yourself for self-advocacy before the appointment?
For the appointment. We talked about writing down questions. We talked about understanding your own condition. We talked about having the right words, being able to kind of just in a pithy and concise way explain what's going on in your body, right? You don't need to go on and on and on and on and on. Just why use a lot words and few words good?
Yeah, and actually, I would think depending what it is, some people will go on and repeat, repeat, repeat.
Right.
I think take a breath. Say again, this is preparing beforehand. So if you know you're one of those people, I'm going to say, "Well, my neck hurts, and I know it hurts, and it's causing me this, and it's my neck hurts. Where? Here.
Yes.
Done. Right? Just
Right.
if you know, just hand them the paper, and hopefully they're going to be one of those doctors that reads it. I would imagine
Right.
99.999% of the doctors would read that because
Yeah.
it helps them, right? They don't want to just guess. I mean, some doctors maybe want to start from the beginning and figure it out like a TV show, and they carry you by the end of 45 minutes. But
I don't
as
think
long as
anybody really wants to do that.
no,
Yeah.
no,
I think
doctors
they appreciate it when you've
probably
written
want to
it
fix you.
down. I think most doctors, maybe they don't want it to be handed to them, but maybe if you're just saying, hey, I'm going to open up my phone and I've written this down because I want to make sure that I get through all of this.
You know, I took a picture of what this red mark looked like on my arm first,
Right.
right? So you may notice it by the
Yep.
time you get your appointment 3 to 5 days later or a month
Yep.
later, it's gone, but you still have horrible symptoms. I think
Right.
was that Lyme disease? I think
Yeah.
you get the circle and then it goes away, right? But you have all this other horrible stuff going on. All right, so another practical tip is the I language. Now, when we say the I, not the eyes, but me, I, you. So this is saying, I feel this. I have a pain in my chest. I have a
Yes.
pain in my neck. When I walk up and down the stairs, I get dizzy.
Right.
This is a really good thing. Is there any other go on that you can add to that? That's pretty much it, right?
Well, we
Just
talk about repeating
I.
it, right? Repeating back
Yeah.
what you think you heard.
Hmm.
That's not preparing, but that's in the meeting itself.
Well, it's advocating for
It
yourself,
is.
saying,
It's advocating for
this
yourself.
person that I kind of know kind of goes through this. In other words, don't talk about yourself in the third person. Talk about yourself.
Yeah. That would just be
You,
weird.
I feel
Right.
this. I am
Yes.
bleeding from. They might see it, but if you have it covered, what's going on underneath that towel? I'm bleeding.
Right.
How bad?
Right.
Watch. No, we'll leave it
Yes.
up to your imagination, right?
Yes. This is no being honest. This is more than I can bear. I'm
Mm.
not able to distract myself from the pain. Right? Like I feel like I have tried everything and I feel like I'm at the end. I feel like I'm at the end of my rope. Right? Like I just this is too much for me.
And try to be specific too. So let's
Yes.
say it started about a month ago or three
Right.
weeks ago, or it started yesterday, or it started, then it stopped, and it started, then
Yes.
it stopped, or it only happens after I eat or
Right. What
after I
makes it
exercise.
worse?
Yeah.
My ear hurts more after I've flown on a plane. I'm
Hmm.
dizzy more when I lean forward.
Yeah. These are important
Giving the
things.
examples of how it's impacting you can really help. Because if it's just like, oh, my knee kind of hurts. Well, when does it hurt? It hurts whenever I run a marathon,
Doctor's going to hear real quick. Don't run marathons, right? Now, that's probably a
right?
podiatrist, and they're going to say, "All right, let's check your feet." Right? I had
Right.
my hip hurt, and the doctor goes, "Take off your shoes. Let me check your arches." I'm like, "But it's my hip." I was very young at the time. It was
Yeah.
my feet. It's
Yeah.
causing hip issues. Well, that
Right.
went away pretty quick. All right. So the next one, to advocate for yourself, repeat back what you
Yeah.
hear. So you're saying I need a blood test before the MRI. Did I get that right? That's depending what it is, right? Repeat back what you heard.
Yeah.
And Sarah mentioned this a while ago, 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, that you should definitely repeat back. And again, it's that conversation
Yeah.
because again, maybe you're a little off put by the
Yeah.
information you've gotten. You're a little freaked out. Maybe you're alone. You don't have that support person there,
Yeah.
which also is the fourth tip is bring that second set of ears.
Yes.
If you know it's something important,
Yes.
something that's life altering,
Right.
even in the short term, just for a broken foot, right?
Right.
Well, I didn't know it was a broken ankle. I thought I had a really serious compound fracture in my lower leg. It turned out it was just a really bad sprain and two little breaks. But the way my
That's
foot was hanging, it was a lot worse until I
right.
kept my jeans off. It was like, oh my gosh, that's all it is. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's important to ask too, like, what else could this be? You said it was this, but is it possible that it's something else? Have you considered these other things? Or is there
Hmm.
anything else that we should consider?
Yeah. And actually, that makes me think of the fifth practical tip is document everything. Now,
Yes.
I'm sure you've been in more medical exam rooms than I have, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure. Is it okay for you to take notes while the doctor's talking?
Absolutely. And yes,
It's
please
not
do
rude.
take notes.
Yeah, it's
Take
not.
take notes,
Can you
especially if you
record
don't have
them?
somebody
Yeah.
with you, or if you're bringing somebody with you, have them take notes for you. Um, I have friends who are hearing impaired, and they have their transcription on their phones, and they can just hit record. I think you do have to be careful about recording in your doctor's office,
Should you
recording
ask
a
permission
person.
before you record your
Yes,
doctor?
definitely ask permission
Okay.
before you're
I
recording.
never thought about that until this moment, but
Yes,
yeah,
even just as a
it's
matter of respect. Um, I know a lot of doctors' offices are now using AI, and so they're recording the appointment too. And the hope there is that they'll be able to focus more on you while also getting better and more accurate information for their notes. So we'll see how that plays out kind of in medical healthcare and on the when you, I don't know if after you have an appointment, if you go online and you look at what the appointment notes were. I almost always do because I want to be able to go back and say, you know what, this was written in there wrong. Can we please correct this? Because I want to make sure that you have the accurate information because I know how important that is.
yeah, it's I've looked at my stuff, but mine's usually a sentence.
Yeah,
Recommended this.
right.
That's it. Yours is probably a little more lengthy on some of
It,
your
it's
stuff,
it's
I can
pretty
imagine.
lengthy, right? And
Yeah.
even just not all the doctors are if your doctor, for instance, is your endocrinologist, they might not know what your cardiologist has told you to do, or they might just
Right.
not remember. They might not remember. For instance, my understanding is, and again, I'm not a medical provider, my understanding is that if you're on a blood thinner, you shouldn't take an NSAID. And so your doctor might just say, oh, just take an ibuprofen. Hey, doc,
Hmm.
just want to remind you, I'm on a blood thinner. I can't do that. What would you recommend?
And
So
I think
sometimes
we
it's
mentioned that about before going, writing down all your medications and anything you're
right.
taking,
Yep. Or,
just in
if you, for me, I stay with all the medical providers in one hospital system. So that's pretty convenient. I'm able to just say, hey, everything's correct on my chart. So,
Is that
make
where
sure
they
you
always
do
have
that.
us fill out like 10 forms every time we go in? Just to make sure that you know? That's
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, that is why. And for me, that's why I stick with one system because I hate filling out forms. I don't want to answer the same question.
Yeah.
And you do
It's
have to fill it out electronically, but at least writing it down every
Yeah,
day.
actually, I was able to fill out something ahead of time for
Mm,
something just a couple months ago. So it was kind of
yes.
nice to do it online instead of writing since we're not used to writing anymore.
Right. Right. And you
Yeah.
do like be as honest as possible, right? Like go in there, be as honest as you can. Don't, this is your doctor. You're literally hiring them to discuss these things with you.
So does that mean you should go in and just demand?
Definitely. No. No.
No? Should you be assertive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
That leads
have,
us to our last topic
yes.
we're going to talk about today, which is what's called emotional intelligence. But basically, it's how you say things.
Yes.
So we want to go and we want to stay calm, even though you might be panicking inside. You want to be clear and respectful, even under pressure, because sometimes you're going in for that, maybe that second appointment and things just went downhill or things kept
Yes.
progressing. As the doctor said, this could happen and it is happening. It's scary.
Yeah.
You're going to go in. I would hope that the doctor has some experience in dealing with that. Like, I understand
Yeah.
you're freaked out right now. Let's take a breath. You want to learn some breathing control.
Yeah.
Box breathing is something that I've done where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds. When you know maybe you're going to get some bad news
Yeah.
that the medication you were taking is not working, they got to go to surgery or something worse.
Yeah.
It's you got to breathe. I have a friend, his blood pressure skyrockets when he goes to the doctor, even for a sore throat. He just freaks out and he can't control it.
Yeah.
And I told him about that. He says, nothing works. He has to take a tranquilizer to go to the doctor. Pretty bad. But
Yeah. That's tough.
that happens. So that's there. So
Yeah.
again, we need to watch our tone with the doctors too, I
Yes.
think.
No one wants to be cussed at, right? Your doctors, your
Mm.
nurses don't. You need to
Mhm.
be respectful. If
Yeah.
you want respect, you have to give it, I think. Just going in there with kindness, with empathy, and with that respect is ultimately what will allow you to be respected in return.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, Sarah, I do respect your time so much. We've had some great discussions. We're going to have some more future discussions with Sarah. She's going to introduce us to some of her acquaintances in the future, hopefully, that can add to this conversation because it's about communicating. And the more that we can get people in on this to communicate about some of the healthcare issues they've dealt with, hopefully it can help you out too. So, and again, if you want to leave a comment in below or check out the descriptions, we're going to leave some of the links that Sarah mentioned and we'll go from there on that. But other than that, Sarah, is there anything else? Any final words you want for? Well, I shouldn't say final words. That sounds bad in the healthcare system. Sorry, that was not a pun. But any further tips and insights that people might be able to get away with?
Just remember that you deserve to be heard. You deserve to be as well and as healthy as you can possibly be. You are owed respect and you owe respect. And you're not alone. You can go into appointments and you can go to the medical system knowing that you are in charge.
Even though you may not feel like it.
You might not feel like it, but you are the boss of your body. And again, back to that respect. Nobody wants a boss that's a jerk,
Mm-mm.
right? You want a boss that is respectful and kind, but knowing how to communicate well and assuredly is going to ensure that you are closer to getting what you need.
That's great. That's really good. So one of the bottom lines that I like to think of when you practice self-advocacy in the healthcare system, you don't have to leave another appointment wishing you had said more.
Right.
Again, we've given you some here. And
Yes.
yes, it does take practice. It does take patience. And if you want, share your story in the comments because
Yeah.
your words could be the spark that helps someone else speak up and help prevent miscommunication. And
Right.
that's the core message. Let's prevent miscommunication and communicate on a higher level
Yes.
and get the care that you deserve.
Right. Yeah, just like you said, and following up the comments, you can follow up in your electronic medical system with your doctor. If you forgot something, follow up in the
Oh,
message system. Say, hey,
interesting.
you can even ask, hey doc, if I forget anything, there's something else I want to ask. How can I get a hold of you? What's the best way to contact you? Should I call? Should I or do we don't do the telephone anymore, right? We do the telephone.
Yeah.
Should I call or should I message you through the electronic system?
Yeah.
What's the best way to
Email is
ask
probably
questions?
always the best too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, great, great. All right. Well, I want to thank Sarah for your time.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you, Steve.
And I want to thank you for your time watching and
Yeah,
spending some
thank
time
you.
with us. Other than that, check out the video on your screen next because that will take you further into the adventures of communication and preventing miscommunication. Until we see you, take care. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.